The Young and the Restless scoop for Wednesday, October 1st, reveals Audra Charles will get an earful of Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman. Also coming up, Lauren Fenmore will walk out on Michael Baldwin. Plus, Nikki Newman will question Victor Newman, and Jack Abbott will lay out his plan. Y&R spoilers tease Michael will tell Victor about what happened with Cane Ashby. Then Jack will walk in and ask Michael if he's friend or foe. A confused Michael will ask why two enemies are hanging out together. Michael will realize Victor and Jack must be working together against Cane. Not surprisingly, Jack and Victor will start bickering, and Michael will say they need to deal with this as a cohesive team, or they can be at each other's throats and lose everything. Jack will say he spoke with Jill Abbott. He thinks she'll do everything she can to keep Cane in line. They'll ask if Victor's committed, and he'll grimace at them. But he'll say they'll see what happens when Jill arrives. Meanwhile, Lauren will tell Nikki she needs her help. Has Victor brought Michael back in? She'll ask. Is that why my husband is working for Cane? However, Nikki will say she doesn't know. But she'll point out Michael and Victor may be on the outs right now, but their bond is unbreakable. It's almost like Michael is his third son. So, Lauren will ask why he's so brutal with him. It's the same with Nicholas and Adam, Nikki will reply. Lauren will say Nikki's as guilty as he is. Turning a blind eye and just letting all this happen, she'll add. How can you sit back and watch Victor take down Jack? Nikki will say she's begged Victor to get past it, and Lauren will admit she's tired of Michael doing Victor's bidding. I had him, and I knew he missed Victor. But she thought he'd get over it. Then Cane came along, and all bets are off. So, Lauren will ask Nikki to find out if Michael is working with Victor. Nikki will return to Newman and ask Victor if Michael is working with him. However, he'll evade her question. Then she'll phone Lauren, who'll be at Society, having dinner with Michael. Nikki will say Victor confirmed nothing, but she thinks Lauren's right. I can feel it. Something is going on between Victor and Michael. Once again, you've lied to me, Lauren will say to her husband after she hangs up. She'll ask if he's working for Victor again. Michael will say he spoke to him about infiltrating Cane's camp, but it's a moot point because Cane fired him. It just never ends, Lauren will reply, and she'll walk out. At the park, Kyle will tell Claire Holden Novak is a player. She'll ask if it would be different if she was meeting a female friend in LA, and why it has to be about some guy. What, it's not like that? Kyle will ask. It's none of your business what it's like, Claire will reply. Kyle will say, it's none incidents that Holden invited her to LA, and she said yes. Claire will tell him he's just going to show her around. It is not some romantic escapade, she'll add. I'm not going to be lounging around in his train car in France. He'll say he knew it. This is about revenge. Well done, Claire. Victor would be so proud. But Claire will ask if he hears how self-centered he sounds. She'll defend Holden and say he's her friend. And I know that we're going to have fun, and I'm going to live my life, and maybe even learn something about myself. So Kyle will ask why she can't do that with him. Claire will say she did, but he broke her trust, and she's different now. This trip of yours isn't harmless, Claire, he'll tell her. But Claire will say he's being a hypocrite. Then Audra will come along and eavesdrop as Kyle badmouths Holden. Claire will say this isn't about what she needs. It's about your jealousy and your ego. She'll ask if he'll ever realize how much damage he did today, and she'll walk away. Kyle will sit on a bench, and Audra will sit beside him. This is a difficult time for a man-child dumped by his psycho girlfriend, she'll say. I guess Victor was right about you all along. Finally, Audra will realize she succeeded. Victor wanted me to prove you don't deserve Claire, she'll say. And if this is all my fault, as you say, then Victor should give me the reward he promised. But Kyle will dare Audra to profit off the damage she caused, and he'll swear he'll take her down. Keep reading the Soap Scoop for Young and the Restless spoilers and news. And make sure to also join our Y&R Facebook group, or leave us a reply in our comments section. But if you miss an episode, don't fret. You can watch The Young and the Restless online at cbs.com. Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Thursday, October 6th, reveal that Billy Abbott and Cane Ashby will face Jill Abbott's homecoming, while Nate Hastings turns down Audra Charles. First, on Thursday's Y&R episode, Audra will decide to make one last attempt at a romantic reunion. Since Audra feels like she had something special with Nate, she'll ask for another chance to prove herself. Audra will hope Nate's willing to wipe the slate clean and move forward as a couple, but it won't be that simple for him. Nate may point out that Audra broke the trust between them beyond repair and doubt, that she's really learned her lesson anyway. Although Audra will be disappointed, she won't wallow in Nate's rejection for too long. Audra is the type of gal who's always looking to the future and trying to figure out a beneficial new path, so that's exactly what she'll do soon enough. Over with Lily Winters, she'll have a sweet, meaningful conversation with Amy Lewis. Amy and Lily will find that they have something to bond over, so this may lead to Amy's advice. Lily should express her continued condolences over Billy&Cane and wonder how Amy's holding up. Although Lily will remain upset over Damien dying at Cane's niece gathering, Amy may not blame Cane in the end. Amy might also sense that Lily still has feelings for Cane deep down and contend that life's too short not to chase after what you want. Perhaps Amy will suggest Damien would encourage Lily to find happiness, even if Cane is the one to bring her that. Next, Jill will make her way back to Genoa City, so Cane and Billy will have to deal with her homecoming. That means Cane will land on the hot seat over all his shady GC takeover plans, while Billy gets grilled about his latest spinout. Of course, Billy may be livid when he learns Sally Spectra asked Jill to become Abbott Communications' new investor. Jill hasn't made a decision yet, but Sally is hoping it'll be a win-win situation since they can get funding while Jill makes a gesture of reconciliation. However, Billy may view it as Jill acting like she's swooping in and saving the day. It's easy to imagine Billy arguing that he doesn't need help from Mommy and blasting Sally for even suggesting the idea. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Jill's return will bring plenty of drama, so stay tuned for updates on all the troubling news ahead. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of October 6 through 10 reveal that Victoria Newman will make a mama bear move, while Sharon Newman and Nick Newman head into unknown territory. First, let's talk about Jill Abbott, since she's a key part of Victor Newman and Jack Abbott's plan to steer Cane Ashby away from his GC domination plot. Of course, Nikki Newman has acknowledged the possibility that Jill could side with Cane and make a bigger mess in the end. Jack and Victor will work on multiple strategies, so look for them to set a Cane trap in the coming episodes. However, Victor and Jack don't consider each other trustworthy, so there could be some bumps in the road when it comes to their risky alliance. As for Lauren Fenmore Baldwin, she'll remain frustrated with Michael Baldwin and the Newman web he always gets tangled up in. Can Michael fix things with Lauren before their marriage issues get any worse? Next, Daniel Romalotti Jr. will join Tessa Porter in looking into Mariah Copeland's criminal activities. Some stunning discoveries await regarding the stranger Mariah attacked that night at her hotel. Back in Genoa City, Kyle Abbott may need a distraction following his breakup and Claire Newman's decision to visit LA with Holden Novak. Getting revenge on Audra Charles might become Kyle's new focus, but she can hold her own in a feud and could strike some blows right back. That said, there's a thin line between love and hate on a soap, so no one can rule out the idea of a passionate encounter that's fueled by booze and fury. It'll be interesting to see if Kyle and Audra might hit the sheets again at some point. As for Claire, she'll head to LA and let Holden be her guide. That could bring some special moments between them and leave Claire feeling even more smitten. Meanwhile, Victoria will make a mama bear move by deciding to take a trip of her own to Los Angeles. Although Victoria might make up a business-related excuse, her real goal may be serving as chaperone and making sure Claire doesn't get in too deep with Holden. Over with Sharon and Nick, Y&R spoilers say they'll look forward to seeing Noah Newman during their LA visit since they're headed there too. Unfortunately, Nick and Sharon will soon find themselves in unknown territory since a mystery storyline is about to kick off. There may be a strange message and some signs that trouble's brewing for Noah soon enough. The Young and the Restless spoilers say the week of October 6-10 will set up some major Los Angeles curveballs, so stay tuned for updates on all the jaw-dropping news and exciting showdowns ahead. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that two Newman hostages could cause a whole lot of drama. Will Claire Newman and Noah Newman get held captive together in LA? There must be a reason why Claire and Holden Novak are headed to Los Angeles at the same time as Sharon Newman and Nick Newman, who are about to get tangled up in a scary situation involving Noah. The show's obviously gearing up for an umbrella story that's going to involve multiple clusters of characters. That means Claire could easily get pulled into the danger that's looming, especially now that she's so eager to be impulsive and take risks. Claire is leaving the safety net of her former relationship with Kyle Abbott and gearing up to explore something exciting and new with Holden. However, Audra Charles has made comments in the past about Holden being the kind of guy who lived on the edge. Holden helped Audra out of a messy jam involving some illegal activities, but Audra also talked about the way Holden scared her once upon a time. Claire enjoys Holden's attention and how charming he can be, but there's another side to him that she hasn't seen yet. Holden's history may tie in with the upcoming dangerous Noah drama, which will connect to Sienna Bacall, Roger Howarth's character, and Detective Burrow as well. Instead of just relying on Nick to watch over Claire while they're in LA, Victoria Newman will decide to take a trip there too. Since Y&R is dragging Claire's mom into this, that's just more evidence that Claire's going to land in some danger of her own. Victoria may find herself in panic mode if Claire gets kidnapped along with Noah in the end. Will this become a double Newman hostage crisis? Will Claire and Noah be held captive together as part of the wild storyline that's about to kick off? Kyle may get updates on Claire's abduction news sooner or later and blame Holden for letting it happen. The Young and the Restless spoilers say the Newmans could be targeted in more ways than one, so stick with the CBS soap. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that the show could be gearing up for the next cheating scandal. Will an unforgivable mistake tear another couple apart? Sally Spectra and Billy Abbott bonded over being cheating victims when they first got together. Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson's forbidden passion was a tough blow, especially since so many secrets and lies were involved. However, Billy is no saint and has certainly been part of cheating scandals in the past, most notably when he carried on an affair with Phyllis Summers when she was married to his own brother, Jack Abbott. Billy never really changes, so he's just as capable of a bedroom betrayal now as he was back then. That's why Sally could be headed for heartbreak now that her relationship with Billy is facing so many obstacles. Sally is trying to fight for love and convince herself that she can make this work. However, Billy's promises seem hollow, like he's just telling Sally what she wants to hear until he inevitably hurts her all over again. It's clear that Billy's not even really listening to Sally since she told him she wanted to take things slowly, and he still pressured her about getting the move-in back on track. Now Sally's attempting to repair the damage between Billy and Jill Abbott, perhaps knowing that might be the only way to truly end Billy's Chancellor obsession for good. Sally is putting up with a lot when it comes to Billy, but she may reach her breaking point eventually. Could Billy ultimately make the one mistake that Sally just can't forgive? After what happened with Adam, Sally couldn't take it if Billy let passion erupt with another woman. If Y&R wants to deliver one final blow and finally end this relationship, a cheating scandal might be the way to go. Tamara Braun will debut as Sienna Bacall soon as part of a major Los Angeles story, but she should make her way to Genoa City when it's over. Could Sienna and Billy be a potential pairing option? Time will tell, but Sally and Billy's romance remains on shaky ground. If Billy does land in bed with Sienna, or anyone else for that matter, it'll surely be the one thing Sally can't forgive. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Sally and Billy could still be headed for a breakup sooner or later, so stay tuned for updates on any bad news that's brewing. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Summer Newman's engagement news could leak to Genoa City and become Kyle Abbott's wake-up call about his true love. Summer hit it off with a handsome designer in Italy, so their romance is presumably still going well. The same can't be said for Kyle and Claire Newman now that they've broken up. The split was Claire's choice, since she claims she wants a chance to explore life on her own and figure things out for herself. This is about Claire's need to grow as an individual before she dives into a serious commitment. However, there's no denying that Claire feels a spark with Holden Novak. one that she's free to enjoy now that she's single. Based on Kyle's reaction to Claire's LA trip in the September 30th episode, he obviously suspects Claire's decision to dump him had more to do with Holden than she's letting on. Kyle previously built Claire up to be his true love, but he may start to realize he was mistaken about that. Now that Claire's so eager to potentially fall for someone else, Kyle may reflect on their relationship and wonder if he had it all wrong. Many Y&R fans have complained about Kyle being so quick to downplay his Summer connection. Perhaps what Kyle needs is a wake-up call about Summer and the possibility that his real soulmate is slipping away. Kyle and Summer have hurt each other a lot over the years, but they always seem to reunite sooner or later. Summer and Kyle's love story may not be over yet if the show recasts Summer or gets Allison Lanier to reprise the role. If Summer's romance in Milan keeps moving right along, then some engagement updates may leak to GC. Kyle might have an epiphany about Summer being his true love instead of Claire and wish he'd never let his ex-wife go. It'd at least make an interesting story arc if Kyle raced to Italy and tried to win Summer back. Kyle might plan a proposal of his own and plead with Summer to remarry him instead. Even if Summer turned Kyle down, the show could get some great scenes out of it and sink Kyle even further into his lonely pit of despair. Of course, if Summer ever makes a long-term return, then maybe she could have a real future with Kyle in the end. The Young and the Restless spoilers say there's much more emotional turmoil to come for Kyle, so stay tuned. Courtney Hope delivered powerhouse work as Sally faced betrayal, heartbreak, and fragile love, earning Performer of the Month. The Young and the Restless featured plenty of fireworks in September, but it was Courtney Hope who stole the spotlight. As Sally Spectra, she carried some of the most emotional and high-stakes moments of the month, delivering layered performances that made every beat of Sally's journey unforgettable. For that reason, Soap Hub names her our Y&R Performer of the Month for September 2025. Hope shone brightest as Sally learned the crushing truth about Billy's role in her career setback. Sally left Marchetti behind to take a chance on Abbott Communications, only to discover that Billy's obsession with revenge against Victor caused the company to collapse. The revelation cut deeply, and Hope's performance captured Sally's heartbreak, her fury, and the disorienting sense of betrayal. The way she called out Billy while showing Sally's hurt gave those scenes their raw intensity. Hope brought nuance to the scenes where Sally nearly walked away from Billy altogether. The tension between them was palpable, and Hope balanced Sally's anger with her lingering love, making the audience feel every ounce of her conflict. Their reconciliation, fragile and uncertain, felt earned because of Hope's ability to show Sally's vulnerability beneath her fiery surface. Hope also delivered in smaller but meaningful moments opposite Audra. With Audra reeling from her breakup with Nate, Sally's interactions with her offered a different texture, a blend of sharpness, honesty, and empathy. These quieter exchanges revealed Sally's adaptability and gave Hope another chance to show Sally's complexity. September demanded everything from Sally, and Hope rose to the challenge. She gave us a woman wrestling with betrayal, fighting for her heart, and refusing to be broken, even when the odds were against her. Hope's layered, emotional work made Sally impossible to look away from, and more than deserving of Soap Hub's Performer of the Month honor. Kate Fairbanks assured Taraya fans that Tessa will continue to fight for Mariah and their marriage, despite her relationship with Daniel. Tessa is focused on getting answers about Mariah's murder. When she returned from her business trip on The Young and the Restless, Mariah confessed that she killed someone. Tessa wants to know more. Her on-screen portrayer, Kate Fairbanks, says there's hope for Taraya fans. On Tuesday's episode, Tessa told Sharon that she's going to visit the hotel that Mariah stayed at to get answers. Will Tessa's sleuthing ruin her chances at a reconciliation on Y&R? Sharon fears that it could backfire. Tessa thinks it's time for her to find out what's going on with her wife. Fairbanks gave Tessa her flowers in an interview with Soap Opera Digest. She admitted that her alter ego is much stronger than I am. According to Fairbanks, Tessa wants to get the answers she needs. She also admitted that Mariah's secrecy has been out of character. Mariah and Tessa have been open and honest with each other since the beginning of their relationship. This storyline has been disappointing for Mariah fans, who never thought their faves would end up like this. Mariah went to Boston to work on herself. She also asked Tessa for a separation. However, Tessa isn't going to give up that easily. Fairbanks supports her character's motive because she's never had a relationship in her life the way she's had with Mariah. Tessa never had a stable, loving relationship in her life. There's also a child involved, so she will continue to fight to get answers and ultimately reunite with her wife. So I think that is also what's so pivotal about this relationship for her, is its stability, its comfort, its love, Fairbanks noted. Tessa has often felt lonely for much of her life, despite being in other relationships. But this kind of distance and loneliness is new for her, and she's motivated to seek that connection with Mariah again. And that is why Fairbanks is fighting for a Mariah reunion. Plus, Michael has difficulty resisting old habits. Will he figure out how to succeed? In the Wednesday, October 1st episode of The Young and the Restless, Claire explains herself and her choices to Kyle in the park. Meanwhile, Lauren somehow puts Nikki in a tough position. What did she do? Kyle and Claire are in Chancellor Park post-breakup. Kyle wants answers, although he is probably afraid to get them. Claire came to the realization that she needs to prioritize herself, and now it's time for Kyle to get on board. It's why she ended the relationship with him, and that's why she's going to Los Angeles. Holden, her friend, will show her around. Claire is now living on her own terms. Can Kyle handle that? Claire doesn't look happy in this image. Maybe she's wondering if she made the right decision to break up with Kyle. Maybe she is contemplating reversing her decision. Or maybe she is wondering how many swimsuits to pack for LA. According to the daily Y&R teasers, Michael has difficulty resisting old habits. Are we talking about recent past habits, such as going above and beyond for Victor? Or are we talking about ancient past habits, like going super dark to achieve his goals? Michael does seem as if he has that fire in his eyes. He thinks he can save Genoa City, but can he save his marriage once the final secret he's keeping from his wife is revealed? Finally, Lauren puts Nikki in a tough position. This has to do with Michael 100%. In fact, in Y&R's weekly video preview, a distraught Lauren tells her friend Nikki, "I really love Michael. I just don't know if I can take it anymore." So what does Lauren ask of Nikki, and how will it put her in a tough position? A storm of grief and betrayal has descended upon Genoa City, and at its center is a devastating secret that threatens to obliterate Cane Ashby once and for all. What began as a trip to Nice for a grieving Jill Abbott has ignited a firestorm, culminating in an explosive confrontation, a violent outburst, and a desperate man now on the run. The bombshell evidence came in the form of a final testament from the late Colin Atkinson, a worn letter, and a chilling video recording. On screen, a gaunt and dying Colin confessed the harrowing truth of his final days. He revealed that Cane had not only manipulated him, but had forced him to sign a fraudulent will, signing away his entire fortune. The betrayal cut deeper with the revelation that Colin's intended heir was not Cane, but Billy Abbott, a man he had come to respect. But the theft was only the beginning of Cane's depravity. Colin's chilling account detailed how he was systematically poisoned, his pleas for help met with a deafening silence, orchestrated by the very man he once considered family. His final, desperate plea was for justice, a plea Jill is now determined to answer. Upon her return, Jill, alongside her son Billy, confronted Cane in a scene that erupted into chaos. As the damning video played, the truth of Cane's treachery hung heavy in the air. The revelation that Colin had been murdered in such a cruel manner sent Billy into a volcanic rage. Consumed by years of rivalry and the pain of his mother's grief, Billy lunged at Cane, his raw fury barely contained as others scrambled to restrain him. It was a visceral, violent reaction to a crime that defied comprehension. Faced with irrefutable proof and the unhinged wrath of Billy Abbott, Cane's carefully constructed facade shattered. The master manipulator was gone, replaced by a cornered man gripped by raw terror. He saw the future flash before his eyes. The scandal, the courtroom, the prison bars. In a moment of pure cowardice, Cane shoved past the onlookers and fled, becoming a fugitive from the law and from the family he destroyed. Cane may be on the run, but he has left behind a family united in a singular, vengeful purpose. Jill, armed with Colin's last words, has vowed to see justice served, transforming her grief into a relentless mission. Billy, fueled by a righteous fury, has sworn he will hunt Cane to the ends of the earth. Welcome back. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that the tension in Genoa City is reaching a boiling point, as trust becomes both the most fragile and the most expensive currency. Lauren Fenmore finds herself playing the unlikely role of truth-teller when she confronts Nikki Newman. Her warning isn't meant to dismantle Nikki's marriage to Victor, but rather to protect it from the silent erosion of secrets. Lauren knows too well that suspicion, once planted, spreads like poison. So she forces a difficult conversation about Michael, about Victor, and about the thin, ambiguous line connecting loyalty to betrayal. At the center of it all is Michael Baldwin, whose sharp legal mind has been spotted working too closely with Cane. To Lauren, his involvement doesn't look like a favor. It looks like strategy. And behind that strategy, she suspects, is Victor Newman himself. What troubles her is not just Michael's pragmatism, but the possibility that Victor is quietly pulling the strings, shaping outcomes while letting others believe they have control. Nikki, still steadying herself after her own personal struggles, refuses to look away. Lauren's candor pushes her to examine where her marriage stands. Loving Victor, she realizes, cannot mean blindly accepting his ruthless methods. Instead, Nikki begins to carve out her own boundaries, insisting that if Victor insists on using Michael as part of his chess game, it cannot come at the cost of her friend's safety or her husband's integrity. Meanwhile, the machine of Newman Enterprises continues to turn. Michael reports to Victor about Cane's withdrawal, framing it not as a failure, but a simple variable in a larger equation. Victor, with characteristic calm, treats it as a postponement, confident that with the right leverage, no door in Genoa City ever truly closes. But others are less certain. Jack Abbott senses Victor's maneuvers, understanding that any hand extended by his rival comes with hidden shackles. When Jill arrives in town, negotiations escalate. Her presence transforms the Cane affair from a personal conflict into a multilateral power struggle. Jill, ever the strategist, weighs Chancellor Winter's interests against Newman and Abbott agendas, knowing that every nod comes with conditions attached. In these shadowy talks, Michael becomes the legal architect, drafting frameworks that give each player a supposed escape route. Victor sets the pace. Jack watches with suspicion. Jill measures her leverage carefully. And all the while, Nikki and Lauren apply quiet moral pressure from the sidelines, trying to prevent the men they love from being swallowed by Victor's ambitions. Yet even amid the negotiations, the personal stakes are higher than ever. Lauren presses Michael. If Cane hadn't backed out, would he have continued siding with Victor? His answer, yes, lands like a stone in the water, rippling through their marriage. For Lauren, it's a chilling reminder that strategic victory can sometimes come at the expense of family, and so the game continues. Victor declares that trust remains his central issue, a statement that functions less as confession and more as challenge. In Genoa City, every alliance is temporary, every deal conditional. Trust may build bridges, but it also leaves scars. The Young and the Restless star Melissa Ordway and her husband Justin Gaston have a cute relationship. However, like many couples, they do have their disagreements. Recently, Gaston played a prank that got him on his wife's bad side. College football season is in full swing. While it's an exciting time for many, it can bring out the worst in others. The Ordway and Gaston household is divided over which team to root for. On her Instagram, Ordway posted a funny video of her husband wearing an Alabama crimson-tied shirt. When Gaston showed his wife his shirt, she wasn't amused. "Where'd you get that? That's ridiculous. Take it off. That's so gross. Ugliest shirt I've seen in my life," Ordway giggled, as Gaston proudly showed off his apparel. When the couple settled down to watch the Alabama and Georgia game, Ordway continued chiding her husband. "You don't even like Alabama," she replied as Gaston finally took off his shirt. Gaston later got on his wife's good side by dressing their puppy in a Georgia Bulldogs shirt. While Ordway didn't like her husband's shirt, she found his prank hilarious. When your team has a big game and your husband is trying to get on your bad side, this is a Youth Athletics house, and Che Michael Gaston thinks he's hilarious, the actress captioned the post. With Ordway being a Georgia native, it's no surprise that she would root for her home team. Unfortunately, the Bulldogs lost to Alabama in Saturday's game. The Young and the Restless, recap for Wednesday, October 1st, reveals that Kyle Abbott will accuse Claire Newman of revenge, so Audra Charles will gloat over more damage. In the park, Kyle will suspect Claire wants to hurt him like he hurt her. After Kyle accuses Claire of making this about revenge, he'll mock her with clapping and suggest that Victor Newman would be proud. Claire will argue that she's simply going to let Holden Novak show her around Los Angeles since he's her friend. Kyle will be the one who's making this all about jealousy and his ego as far as Claire's concerned. Claire will also think Kyle's being hypocritical about Holden considering what happened with Audra. When Audra appears nearby, she'll look delighted as she watches and listens to the fight. Kyle will insist he's trying to protect Claire from Holden, and will wonder how she could be so blind. After Claire rants about how much damage Kyle did today, she'll stomp off and leave him to mope alone. Of course, it won't take long for Audra to approach Kyle and gloat about the confrontation she just witnessed. Kyle will call Audra poison, pathetic and disgusting, but she'll point out that he's the man-child who's sulking because he got dumped by his psycho girlfriend. As young and restless Tessa resorts to a trip across the pond in a final bid to save her marriage to Mariah, Kate Fairbanks gives fans a heads up about what may prove to be an unworkable obstacle for the pair, and it's not what you might be thinking. Mariah returned from an overseas business trip at the precipice of a downward spiral that eventually led to her separating from Tessa amid a series of disturbing black and white flashbacks. Although she kept alluding to having done something so horrific it was beyond forgiveness, we all kinda knew that her wife would stand by her, if only she'd come clean. Mariah's transgression was revealed in a painfully slow and uneven manner, but ultimately we learned that she'd smothered an older man with a pillow after he hit on her whilst she was inebriated. So, murder. As it turned out, when Mariah finally blurted out a confession to Tessa, it was more along the lines of attempted murder. Not quite the whole enchilada, but every bit as unnerving. Mariah, as well as some young and restless viewers, may have assumed that a criminal act would prove to be a marriage ender from Tessa's point of view, particularly now that there's a child involved, but Fairbanks told Soap Opera Digest that's almost certainly not the case. Instead, she revealed, it's something else entirely that could put the kibosh on Taraya. When asked if Mariah being guilty of a serious crime would make Tessa turn her back on her wife, Fairbanks replied, I don't think so. She then elaborated, I think Tessa is more just about honesty. We can go through anything together, but she doesn't want to be shut out. I think that's more of a deal breaker than anything. Isn't that always the case on soap operas, folks? Characters commit heinous acts, but end up losing their partner, not over the transgression, but instead the cover-up. If you don't think so, just ask Kyle Abbott. Young and the Restless finds Kyle Abbott dumped by his girlfriend, and I expect that Audra Charles is going to rub his face in it, but she's also about to get rejected as well. We're going to talk about how Kyle might wind up in some twisted rebound with Audra. Word is spreading in Genoa City that Claire Grace Newman called it quits with Kyle Abbott. This week, we'll have Audra Charles going back to Nate Hastings to plead her case and beg him to take her back. However, I expect Nate is likely going to reject Audra Charles again this week and tell her, no dice. She betrayed him with Kyle, and also with a whole pack of lies about Victor Newman and the funding for her company. So, why would Nate ever get back with Audra? This week, we're going to see Kyle crushed because Claire broke up with him. His dad, Jack Abbott, feels badly for Kyle, but he also understands where Claire is coming from, because Kyle Abbott was her very first everything. First kiss, first boyfriend, first relationship, the first time she made love. Everything. So Jack thinks it's understandable that Claire needs some more life experience before she settles down. Meanwhile, Diane Jenkins found out that Claire broke up with her son by overhearing a conversation between Victoria Newman, Nikki Newman, and Claire over at Society. Diane is not happy at all to hear that Claire broke up with Kyle. And she confronts Claire about breaking Kyle's heart. Later, when Diane saw Kyle at the office, she told him what she overheard, and that she heard Claire saying that she was going to be taking a trip to LA. Diane Jenkins was trying to be optimistic and thinks that maybe Claire is just heading to California to get some space, some time to just clear her head. Diane tries to tell Kyle, "Don't lose hope. Maybe this breakup is just temporary, and Claire is going to think things through and going to come back to you." However, Kyle is very worried that time apart means time for Claire to realize she doesn't really love him, and she never did. We have seen time and again that Kyle just cannot give Claire space when she asked for it. The last time she asked for space, he got a ring and proposed. So he's just not good at this. He's not patient. Later, Kyle's going to run into Claire in the park, and he brings up her trip to LA. Kyle Abbott puts two and two together and figures out that Holden Novak is somehow involved because he's from LA. Kyle accuses Claire of dumping him so she can just go off and spend time with Holden and go to California with him. Claire is stunned, but I don't think Kyle Abbott's really far off the mark. Yeah, he broke Claire's trust and he made some bad decisions, but at the same time, Claire is definitely into Holden, and he is a part of her decision-making process right now. Claire is also very insistent that this breakup is a done deal, at least for now. She did try and tell her mom and grandma that she and Holden Novak are just friends, but after she left, Victoria and Nikki were saying, "No, we've both heard her talking about Holden." So they know that Claire has some interest in him, and it's not just a casual friendship. At the same time that Kyle is reeling from being dumped, it looks like Audra is going to get a final dumping from Nate as well. I expect when Audra asked Nate to take her back this week, he's going to give her a Taylor Swift response. We are never, ever, ever getting back together. So, that leaves Kyle and Audra both single and hurting and full of rage. Ironically, Kyle blames Audra for his breakup with Claire, and Audra blames Kyle because she lost Nate once and for all. So Kyle and Audra aren't just mad at Claire and Nate. They're also really mad at each other on Young and the Restless. When Audra and Kyle run into each other, I expect them both to salt the wounds because they're each going to know that the other one was dumped. I'm betting as word spreads that Claire dumped Kyle, we're going to see Audra taunting Kyle about it. When Audra finds out Claire went to LA with Holden, oh my goodness, I expect Audra to have some really snarky and insulting things to say about that too. Audra will probably tell Kyle that Claire left him for someone hotter and better and more loyal. Kyle will have some pretty harsh things to say to Audra, something like, "Nate Hastings is a good guy, and he deserves someone better. He does not deserve to be stuck with a disloyal, lying, cheating harpy like Audra." We may see Kyle and Audra just going nuclear on one another. We already saw how bad things can get between Kyle and Audra because they were ripping into each other at the jazz lounge at the GCAC the other day after Kyle had been drinking. People were staring. And in the end, Sally Spectra and Jack had to intervene to break it up and get them away from each other. So, obviously, there's still passion between Kyle and Audra. It's just gone from being like a sizzling, heated passion to hatred, but it could flip back the other way soon. I think an intense and angry confrontation between Audra and Kyle could turn into some hate sex and a revenge rebound that's not about romance, but is about punishing one another for each of them losing the person they love. In his case, Claire. In her case, Nate. We all know there's a very thin line between love and hate. With Kyle and Audra probably tearing into each other soon, those lines might blur. They might start ripping each other's clothes off, in addition to ripping into each other. Clearly, there's attraction still there between Audra and Kyle. Even though they can't stand each other, I think they're still hot for each other. When they were rolling around on that bed in France, it was sizzling. They were both really into it. Kyle was, Audra was. If it wasn't for Kyle tapping the brakes, I think they both might have been naked and cheating on the people they claimed to love. Plus, Audra had been flirting up a storm with Kyle in France, and he was flirting right back. Everybody saw it. So this week, It looks like Audra and Kyle finally realize they have lost Claire and Nate for good. Kyle might end up turning on Audra Charles and raging at her, and I think she'll give Kyle as good as she gets. We may soon see Audra and Kyle having a hateful fling where they fight and then fall into bed. It's like fighting is foreplay for them. There is a whole enemies to lovers vibe that's very common in romance novels and on soap operas. It's one of my favorite tropes. I can see this turning from Kyle and Audra having a secret dirty fling to actually falling for each other. So, we'll see what happens. But I think there is a lot more in store for Kyle and Audra.